Welcome to the first panel of the day. I'm stood at the front because I didn't duck fast enough. These people stood at the front because they know what to talk about. So we're here to talk about art, I believe.
Yes.
In its many forms. So how do you guys want to do it? You want to just sort of sprout philosophy on art, or should we wake these people up and make them ask questions?
No introduction. What we do.
Good idea.
Not it.
Me first? Oh, okay.
Your idea.
Damn. I'm from a company called Smart Effects, specialise in airbrushing art, like motorcycle helmets, anything custom. Also airbrush t-shirts, stuff like that, murals, illustrated portraits in various different formats, watercolours, oils, graphite, and anything else to do with design really. So we try to cover everything. So that's me, and I'm called Tony, by the way.
So basically you're a pimp my everything.
I am, yeah. Bit of an artist's heart, I suppose.
I'm Steve May. I'm a pen and ink artist, which is basically a very old school 1970s, 2018 type look to my work. I've been drawing all my life. I'm doing now, not professional, but semi-professional for about, I would say, about 8-9 years. I've only recently just started to do conventions and also other different shows like this. Basically, I do sell a few pieces like that, and I'm actually working towards my own comic and graphic novel at the moment, with the help of a few other writers, local writers. And today, actually, I was going to mention that today, I actually will be inking some stuff today. If anybody wants to come along and have a go, you're most welcome to have a go. So, okay, so that's me.
Well, I'm Lawrence. I work mostly in paint. Well, you can I've got some stuff to look at if you like what you see. I don't know what to say. I'd like to say I was as professional as these two. I'm kind of not.
Work talks for itself, doesn't it?
Yes.
Everyone's got their own style.
That's not actually why I became an artist. I think the art talks like you have to.
Exactly right.
So we've got traditional style artists predominantly, or mainly.
Yeah.
Not modern computer.
No.
Press the button, it does it all for you.
Yeah.
No.
Question I'm going to ask you guys to kick started off with the digital age,
Yeah.
and a lot of the old school painters, your Boris's, your Preserati,
Yeah.
moving into digital.
Yeah.
With science fiction film and with literature, we go with an age, the Silver Age.
Yeah.
Is it bigger and better, or do you think we've lost a little bit of whatever?
I don't think we've lost much. I mean, digital art hasn't really replaced anything. It hasn't degraded anything. It's just a different tool. So, if you can get results out of it, fine. Get results out of it, because the art is kind of more important than the method. So,
I think when it comes to backdrops and movies and stuff like that, I think it's always nicer to see it painted, where you can see there's more effort that's gone into it. I think with regards to digital, I think that's, there's nothing against, I ain't got nothing against digital at all, but it's like slightly cheating, you know what I mean? When it comes to backdrops and stuff like that.
I look at digital art, and to me sometimes it doesn't look like life. It looks like it's got no life there. It's flat. When I see Frazetta or something like that painting by him, it just breathes life at me. I can see it and I just can feel it. And for me, I just think that's amazing when I see it. It humbles me when I see some of his stuff. It just makes me, I think it's crazy, it's brilliant, fantastic.
yeah, digital stuff is just the right tool for the right job, if it is the right tool for it. So, it's contextual, depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, also, I was thinking it's not so much art, but you say like backdrops in film and that. I know when Doctor Who first came back, there was a mixture of model work and there was a mixture of digital work. And then suddenly the TV execs said, oh, we can do digital everything. And there's a sort of, wide scale of, they were trying to say, well, these coffee cups I drink off, we want CGI ones. And the effectively said, well, why don't you go and buy a coffee cup? Oh no, we want futuristic ones, so they have to be CGI. They ended up, it really was beer mats, Tito, got to be CGI because they're all, and
Just
convenient cost-cutting way.
Well, yes and no, because they said, you know, yes, we can give you a perfect teacup, and that we can give you 6 million teacups. Why we call that, I don't know. Or you, if you want one teacup, you can go into the BBC canteen then. There's a teacup.
That's the thing.
And
If you want
the
it,
executives seem to go, computers are the way of the future.
You get that backfired on them in the last in fact the season that's running on Doctor Who, when they put out a plea for, has anybody got a Dalek because we can't create enough CGI Daleks?
Well, this is
That means
essentially-
a lot of fans are now saying, look, I've got a genuine BBC Dalek. Might be, might be. But to the room, somebody ask a question.
Tony, what's the most original thing you've actually been asked to do?
Something called the Giant's Eye, which was for a company called the Giant's Lair. I did a big sort of mural for them, designed their giant for them. So I'd say that was the most original piece I've done.
Which one have you most enjoyed doing?
Most enjoyed. See, I've got so many different aspects of different arts that I do. It's I also do prosthetics as well, mask and makeup. And I very much enjoy sculpting. So I'd say the piece I also enjoyed doing the most was the giant. Also sculpted the giant. So I'd say I enjoyed that piece the most.
Something about 2000 AD.
Yeah.
I followed it when he went from Eagle from Dander to 2000 AD. The great years of, you know, Nemesis the Warlock, Red, all that. And the one thing I've noticed over the last few years is as some of the great artists have gone on to do either stuff or just literally pine boxed. The artwork seems to, the reason I don't follow it now is a lot of the artwork, as you say, is going more, there's less lines, more colour. It seems to be, as you say, it's losing the third dimension. You could really get involved with the characters on it. Now they're just ink and paint on the paper.
I mean, everyone's got their own style, and I think sometimes as a reader, you look at it and you think to yourself that you come read that character and you read that character over so many months, don't you, or so many years, whatever. All of a sudden, some guy comes and does the young version of it, and you think to yourself, oh, I don't like it anymore because it's changed. I think, and I think sometimes, like I say, it's styles. I think style. You get so used to a style, and all of a sudden the style changes. You know, I love the black and white style of like. Brian Bollins and stuff like that back in the day with Judge Dredd and stuff. I mean, the guys doing it now are doing it really well, but I think it's a nostalgic thing as well. When you read it when you were younger, I think the art has changed a little bit, but the stories are still there. But you just got to get used to the styles. I think sometimes, you know, style changes over a story that comes in it. You know, some of the artists have come in and you think, oh, what's happened here? I think, but I think you just need to evolve with it. I think really just they're really that type of stuff. You know. Comic itself is still a brilliant comic. Still read it off and on. Right?
Still do.
Yeah, I came back to it for a while ago, and after reading like Marvel stuff for a while, went back to what I love, which is the old British stuff, really.
Well, that's why I'm thinking the heart full of it.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel's out there, it's doing its thing really well. But I think sometimes you've got to go back to your roots a bit, really. I think that's what I did. Went back to my roots.
And since we both read shed loads of Dread. And just a little sideline off that, just dotted line away from this. What did you think of the new movie?
I actually really enjoyed it, actually. I think if you were to combine elements of the Stallone movie with elements of this movie, I think you would have got the movie that we should have had originally. I mean, the bike itself, I liked the bike, but it wasn't big enough. The gun needs a dial on it.
He needs a famous dial on it going up to 5.
Needs a dial on the gun,
The one thing I did like was the fact that they seem to have got the actual block they used, the Megacity block, right, in terms of its grubbiness and its armed for nuclear war. But I think in terms of Megacity, if you look at the Megacity in the comic, that's always been there, there's an awful lot more of those blocks and a lot less gap.
I think he did it well, the actual actor took part. But I think he did it really well. Obviously, he didn't. I remember saying about his helmet, but he has to keep it on, don't he? Yes, that's part.
That's correct.
That's part of his aura, isn't it? Really, he has to keep that thing on, doesn't it? And Stallone took it off in the first 10 minutes. The
other thing is the Dread is super tough, aka pulls out his version of the medikit, cauterises the wound, staples it together, gets up and walks away.
If you have the problem with the Stallone one, he actually wants to keep selling on. He knew enough of the comic character. and it's the studio execs, the powers say, oh no, we've got to see, we've paid for you, we've got to see you.
I also think they did too much in that first movie. They tried to literally bring everything into it. Not about a month. They put more of the Curse Nerve, the Age of Gang. They did lots of stuff, but they could have let people been paced out a bit more over
They've gone to
time.
a TV series.
Yeah,
I think it would have worked nicely.
yeah. They try to give you everything in one movie, and it was just too much going on, I think.
So it'll be interesting to see when the Cursed Earth comes out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry, Steve, you said you were doing a graphic novel. Can you tell us anything about that, or is it secret?
At the moment, it's in the plan and out stages with a writer I've been speaking to. I met at one of the comic book days. Hopefully, I'm going to do something that's going to be very local. It'll be like a local superhero type thing, which I'm in and out of what's going to be sort of that's the story that's going to be on it. But you don't see many like local type superheroes, understand me? So we're doing something that's going to be local. It's not going to be like in a funny version. It's going to be quite serious, but it'll be like it might be like going back to times of like Francis Drake and that type stuff, like a period type piece. But hopefully that's going to come together around next year sometime. But at the moment I'm just literally doing designs and talking to the writer about how he wants to go with it really, and how we're going to look to do like at one of the comic book days, like in Exeter next year. Yeah. They aim for one of those there and do like a little small launch. But also at the moment, have anybody heard of the Pilgrim strips? Done by Cape Fear Comics. It's a local comic group by a guy called Sam, who's in the Final Frontier in Plymouth. Basically, he's got his own little comic group going at the moment, which is I've actually done the poster for his upcoming opening day. I think it's the 1st of December. So he's got his own little line, which I'm hoping to pitch the comic to him later on in the year sometime. So, but yeah, it's at the moment it's a planning stage at the moment. But with anything, really it takes time. It takes time just to do it right, because I think you can go into it a little bit too rushed sometimes, and you'll try and do too much. And we need to plan it out, the actual way it's going to go, the story arc and stuff like that, so you get your readers hooked really, so they'll come back for more. Okay?
When I was buying comics about 10, 15 years ago, I found that there was a big gap between the sort of arty comics and there was one called Burn, I can't quite remember the name, but it was a very, very historical drama, but completely devoid, and superhero comics, which I didn't really enjoy, but I liked the artwork of the art comic, but wanted the stories of the superheroes. Do you think that, I mean, then I discovered manga, and actually looking at some of what's available now, there seems to be more of a convergence of the two sorts of distinct Western comic styles. Do you think that's the case, or is that just my perception? And how much
manga's become so popular at the moment that basically what I think manga's become so popular and coming into the mainstream. I mean, manga was back 10, 15 years ago. You only ever saw manga when it was on like DVD or videos like the movies stuff like that. And then you go into Waterstones and the place is completely developed with manga, isn't it really? And it's hit that younger audience, hasn't it? The younger audience is into manga. When you go to a convention now, everybody comes as manga characters, a lot of them do, don't they, sort of things. Yeah, I think it has really gone quite mainstream now. But I think there is a combination of the two. You know, I've seen manga Star Wars comics and stuff like that, where they mix the two together, and it does work. It does work. I mean, they're obviously they're looking to put it to the younger audience, aren't they? So, but I'm a big fan of manga myself. And mangas, I mean, look at the videos go back a few years ago. I mean, manga were miles ahead of themselves from the actual look and all the rest of it. So I think a lot of people have took elements of manga and brought it into their own thing. I think they don't. It's a good thing. I like. I must say, I'm a big fan of manga myself.
We've done that in Japan because lately they've had Wolverine. Excellent. They've done their manga slant on it and actually brought it out on DVD.
They've actually done the Bible in manga.
Seriously?
I saw it in Waterstones.
Eventually, in Japan, everything you've done in manga, you can get your Haynes and Andrews kind of thing. It's manga. Your washing machine's broke. You want to fix it. You go buy your manga instruction book on how to fix a washing machine. But again, it is a throwaway culture. I mean, a standard weekly comic is like you don't collect the comic because at the end of the year you won't get in your house. So they really do. You get the comic, you read everything. Then you have to. And then if you like a particular story, you buy the box set. But from my knowledge of it, you can get absolutely anything in manga.
On the extremely ignorant, can somebody just give on very quickly what is manga? I seen things like animals with coloured hair and stuff, but apart from that,
I would say, in absolute boring and simple terms, it is just a graphic version of telling a story. Ignore the content. The story is no different to reading
but there is a
2000 AD, Battle Action, or the Beano, or it's just. I mean,
but characters have a certain look to them, don't they?
They have a look. They have a style.
Yeah,
But that's if you take the content specific out, the style is just their version of comic strips.
Yeah.
But because of their language and their structure, I think the Japanese are much more visual motivated.
Visual oriented.
That's right, yeah.
But no, in terms of what they do, yes, you've got your magical princess stories, you've got your anthropomorphic animal stories, you've got your My Little Pony. Sorry. Any bronies turn up here, I will beat them to death, I promise.
What catches a lot of people out is people go, oh, Thundercats is American. Correction. Thundercats is Japanese with American voiceovers.
But the strange one is you get things like, you get a lot of French art type stories, and you read that, and I can see, well, even said it, you're getting an American and English artist drawing French comics, and it looks more like the manga and the Japanese style than it does the American or English style.
In fact, in the case of a classic example at the moment, Berserk, if you look at the art style of that, they basically took American medieval, European medieval, and made something that is actually probably more truer to the actual real medieval than actually what the rest of Europe was doing as, you know, comic books and stuff ages ago. I mean, if you look at the artwork on Berserk, it's like, you go, this isn't Japanese. It's so set in Europe that it's, you know. So you think like Sarah put it next to Berserk, and the style is completely two polar opposites. But it's still Japanese manga.
True. I'm just thinking, can we slip away from comics now, going back to more art for art's sake kind of thing? Motorbike helmets and whatever, graphic art. I mean, what's your sort of influences, what's your taste in, you know, if you were painting purely for yourself or drawing or whatever?
Fantasy for me. I love fantasy art.
Dark fantasy for me.
I tend to have a lot of. I try to do sort of normal, sort of fine art, and then the fantasy man sort of jumps on it and tears chunks off, and you end up with something a bit more interesting.
What do you mean by your dark fantasy?
Well, there's with fantasy, you can put fantasy into a little thing of dragons and you agree with your dragons, barbarians, stuff like that. Yeah. Dark fantasy, sometimes it goes off into the gothic type part of it, historical part of it. You can put it on, you can put it all in a box really, and say that's dark art. I mean, that's the name it's been given really. It's the name that you picked up. There's obviously you can say gothic art and dark art. They're nearly the same thing really. So they're. But I was in the whole genre. I would say fantasy then very similar to
We should use that as a tagline, practitioners of dark arts.
So you mean artists like Annie Stokes?
Annie Stokes, yeah. Annie Stokes and some of her stuff, fantastic stuff. Yeah. Actually met her. She was really nice.
And the side calendar up on the wall at home.
Yeah.
It's 2 years old, but it's still
It's quite stunning.
So when you're producing art for a client of that, I mean, what's better for you? Is it an absolute tomb of I want this and I need that and I need that, or do they just say bank packet here or for it?
Well, I
try to put it back and say that's not what I bought.
Normally, if a client comes to me and they got an example of what they want, I try and sort of give them examples of how I see it, and if they like it, then I go with it. So I try to sort of implement my own style at the same time, and obviously if they're sort of stubborn enough to like sort of stick to their own style, then that's fair enough. I mean, everybody's got their own style. So
you push the boundaries, then the negotiations.
Exactly, yeah. I do try.
Because commissions are always slightly collaborative. It's always a case if they come to you with what you need, and you always get as much information about what they want as physically possible, and then you obviously have your freedom in the gaps between that.
Yeah.
And as long as they're okay with that, that's fine.
I was saying I've done 4 or 5 designs for someone and they've still not been happy, and then I've done another design, like a very rough one, and they've loved it, and you've concentrated over that time on that piece, and that last piece that you just kind of like, oh, just do some of this, and they've loved that thing. It's weird because someone's mind works when they're looking at something, and you're trying to visualize their thing on paper from as well, and you just sometimes you've got to keep on molding it like a sculpture really. You've got to keep molding and molding and molding until it comes to the one that you agree on.
I think everyone's got their own.
Yeah, so everyone sees something in their mind and think, I want a dragon, a red dragon or something, and then you draw it, and it doesn't fit what they thought their mind was going to look like. So then you just work together. So basically, you work together, and over that time, you gradually mold to what you need. It'll come about, and it takes time, but it comes about.
Yeah, exactly right.
Is there any subjects for commissions that you go, oh God, no, not another vampire, or what do you hate? Probably.
Not necessarily hate. I was doing a line of sculptures, which was meerkats. Everybody was asking for meerkats. Oh, no, I remember meerkat. I don't want more repetitive. So many of them, right? But I didn't mind making them, but it was just, give me something nastier, like.
We are meerkat.
Vampire. A vampire meerkat, yeah, excellent. Zombie meerkat, yeah. Zombie meerkat, excellent.
Zombie meerkat.
Off the top of my head, Disney have just bought Lucasfilm. How would you feel about having to do graphical Disney Star Wars? Good or bad?
We're not allowed to commit Harry Carroll.
I don't know, I'm a fan of the film since I've been a kid, so I think I've got that love for it. If Disney do it right, I think I'll be happy to do it. I mean, when I heard it, I was in two minds about it, but I think the people that run Disney they're a good company, and they know what they're doing. I think all us as fans think that, a lot of people watched the original. I watched the originals when I was 6 years old or whatever, when I was a kid, and fell in love with those originals. And Star Wars basically got me drawing, really, because I was sitting in school drawing TIE fighters and stuff on my school books. So, yeah, that's right, yeah, a British book and a TIE fighter on the end of it. But, that's sort of like, so I always will go back to Star Wars at one point, because it's one of my first loves, Star Wars is. So I think Disney do it right, and they do a nice Disney style Yoda, I'll draw, and, really, how do you guys think?
They'll make a worse job of it than George Lucas did.
Yeah.
And they're less likely to, once it's done, then tinker with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to admit though that Lucasfilms are doing their animated series is actually quite good. Was it season 5 now, the Clone Wars?
Yeah, it's a good series.
And they are actually doing it true to basically from end of second all the way up to all the way up to the what will be episode 6, to the gap between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
But they've done it so well that
it started off a bit shaky, but it's gone really well.
Yeah. You get used to the characters. You quite enjoy things like.
I think since Dark Wars come back, I think it's gone really well.
Ball and Brother Inc.
Yeah, using mechanical legs.
You mentioned your biggest commission piece. What about smallest commissions? I once went to a Star Trek convention where there was this American woman who was annoying as hell. 3,000 Star Trek fans, only 8 people talk to the guests. For some reason, she always managed to get the question to every guest, mainly because she had each one painted on her fingernails. And she had different tiny portraits. I saw that, they were amazing portraits. But I realised that I think Orlando's wrong. I got you on my hand. And I thought, I think she's terrible. I've got a tattoo like that. The art was fantastic. The woman I could have strangled. But, what's the smallest piece you've ever been asked to sort of do?
Toe ring.
A toe ring?
Yeah, made out of resin.
Okay. But anything particular?
Oh yeah, it was like a row of skulls.
Obviously. Every home should have one. I didn't see that one coming.
I was once paid £5 to, you know, the screws when you start screwing in the plate on your car.
Yeah.
And you can get covers for them.
Yeah.
And obviously, because the number plate is yellow, you wanted it yellow, and then with the Watchman smiley face with the blood splatter on it. I can do that.
So you know you're now doing custom screws.
Apparently.
You want a custom screw? This is the man. Okay. Put that on your website. Your hit rate will go up.
It's interesting, man, to see Blackpool turn up at your door.
5 minutes ago, I didn't know such things existed. Now I want them. Oh, Watchman. I think the Watchman was fantastic.
The gentleman being said about what he remembers first drawing.
Yeah.
What do the other two first remember drawing?
When I was 12 years old, first ever drawing I ever did was the car park, which actually got me into drawing. That's because I was absolutely bored, waiting for my brother. He was supposed to be taking me out that day. He never turned up, so there was a piece of paper in front of me, so I just started sketching away, and that got me into drawing.
I used to draw a lot of monsters as a child. Specifically because it freaked out my mum, but especially thought I was possessed or something. Just constantly drawing these horrific monsters. But once I realised actually they're quite good, maybe I could make a career of freaking people out. And getting paid to do it. Nothing wrong with that.
What are the kinds of things that inspire you? Your artwork is quite distinctive. I mean, I've been in there, looked at it last year, looked at it this year, and I just wondered what goes on inside that head that inspires that kind of art.
It's a very strange technique. I have a lot of my best ideas in the shower. So if you're in the shower, just thinking, I know, so I have to run out and scribble it down and before you forget. And then I actually start painting and I go, you know what, actually I want to paint this instead. And so I've got loads of sketches of paintings I'll never do because I start them and then I paint something else instead. But I take inspiration wherever I can find it. Just
with myself, I always carry an A5 little drawing pad with me everywhere. Everywhere I go, that A5 pad's with me. And I'll be on a bus, I'll be in town, I'll be anywhere where I am, and all of a sudden someone will just pop in there. And I'll write it down, or I'll sketch it, quickly sketch it. And that will then evolve to something else. Or I might hear a song on the radio, or something, a lyric will be in my head. And from that lyric, you see a picture in your head, and it'll start to come in a little tiny sketch. And then I'll come back to that sketch, and I'll write a note beside it saying this has to be bigger, this has to be smaller, and then it'll just keep on evolving all the time. Literally, you could be anywhere, it could be in the cinema, anywhere, and it'll just, you sit there and think, well, that'd be a brilliant idea to do something like that, and then somebody else will say to you something to you, and I mean, when you work with a writer or something like that, the ideas are coming back and forth all the time, and you just, it literally bounce back and forth, and then just starts to keep going and going and going. But they say in the shower as well. Shower's a good place to design monsters.
Rule one as an artist, never be without your sketchbook.
No.
So now you've got waterproof markers on strings in your shower.
That's right, yeah.
Your shower
just draw on the tiles with a black marker, yes.
The other one is just as you're going to sleep. So you have to get up and sketch them, and then you're up until 4 in the morning going, I really want to get them sleep, but I can't because I have to do this now.
Visions of all the rooms just full of scrap paper in various piles.
Yeah, you got to put it out there. Yeah.
Who's your favourite famous classical artist? You know, a great master.
Caravaggio. Always liked him. I try to have him as an influence in my work. I'd love to be able to paint like him, and I never quite manage it. One day perhaps, or it'll help me nail down what my style is. So.
Simon James from he's a novelist, does children's artwork.
Oh, I don't know that.
No. This was when I was in the school, like in junior school. I would say he was the person that got me into art. So
he did drawings.
He did drawings, yeah. He did like children's sort of style drawings.
Any titles?
The Galaxy Far Far Away.
But you
I'll
still
get back to you on
remember his
that
name.
one. Sorry?
You still remember his name so clearly that
I do, yeah,
that
yeah.
first comes to mind. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mine's Frank Pizzetta. Because I saw Frank Pizzetta when I was very young. Somebody's art. Frank Pizzetta. He's not, obviously, I would say for me, he's a legend for me. Because he's not he's before, actually, he's got after the class of like Monet's and all that type of thing. But I think what he did, fantastic. I mean, the man he had a stroke and then he started painting with his other hand. What he did with his other hand was just incredible. It was incredible. You look at, like I say, I said earlier on, but you see Pizzetta stuff, it humbles me when I see it. I think it's amazing. And you see some of these influence in my style sometimes. I used to like these poses sometimes. But in my head I think, how does that do it? And that's how sometimes I'll go back to that. But when I see it, it's amazing stuff, amazing stuff. It's up there with the masters myself, I think it's stuff that should be up there with them. Crazy. Sorry?
No, I don't think another question. Okay.
Where did the terminology artistic license come from?
What is a license for?
Well, they always, you know, when something gets altered, it's always, oh, don't worry, he was using artistic license.
But you sound like they're faffing about.
I was going to do it.
Do that as well.
Shall I run on the parade now?
Does the license not mean free?
The original artistic license is something, especially enough, it came out of Disney, voluntary socks, way back in the 1940s. When it was first started, all their artists were under license, which meant they had to work for Disney, they couldn't do anything else.
Right. Oh, right. Okay, right.
So when they had strikes, basically it was because the artists refused to work because of the license. Because they wanted to do work for, you know, their own work and work for other film studios. And Disney pretty well said, no, you have your license, your artist license to work for us, and that's it.
Well, isn't that, I mean, going back to the same 1940s, but 1930s and 40s film stars was signed to a studio.
Yeah.
And it wasn't sort of, I'm going to make this film with this director, with this company. It was not, I am Universal's actor, and he's Columbia's actor. I can make 10 films, one good one and 9 shite because they're paying me. And also, if you go back to the same classics, you go back to Renaissance Italy, and painters didn't paint anything they liked because it's sold usually. You had your sponsor,
benefactor,
and your benefactor, but to a large extent, you painted what he wanted. And even today, I think it happens. Chris Achilles, the artist, who everybody thinks of as old fancy women and women in plate armour and not a lot else. And I remember from one of his books he said he'd always wanted to paint a female robot, which is totally sort of away from what he normally paints. And so he was waiting for somebody to commission him. But of course, everybody said, no, I want another nude woman, and I want another woman who's not got a lot on. Eventually he gave up and painted it for himself. And it's a beautiful piece of work, but it's just he said the problem was, jobbing artists at painting painted films. He was desperately waiting for somebody to tell him to paint what he wanted to paint on anyway, and he had to give up and do it himself. So I don't think the concept of artistic license, artists being known, is a sort of new thing. That's quite a new thing.
I mean, it still happens today. You've got by royal appointment to do the royal family portraits. That's by license.
Why do we have royal appointment comics?
Just coming back to artistic license, I think there's my understanding of it isn't to do with contractual obligations. It's the artist interpreting things.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, to sort of.
Other interpretations are available.
Yeah, it's probably not necessarily painting what really happened, but what would look good on the canvas. I'm thinking of the one of, and I apologise for my ignorance here, Napoleon crossing the Alps, horse, very dramatic, and you think that probably wasn't what really happened, but it looks good.
The Iwo Jima flag, for example.
Yeah.
It's that wonderful photograph was staged. Franz Romans country and Lemuriers is grammatically incorrect, but in context it works.
Well, it's like Hannibal crossing the Alps, you know, the movies he made it with all the elephants, in fact, he made it with one.
It wasn't big ones.
Very small hops.
In those terms, artistic license would be when, for example, there's a very good book called The Fingersmith, which was made into a BBC drama a few years ago. It's a Victorian setting. I've got a distinct impression from the book that the lunatic asylum wouldn't have existed in the book, having actually sort of read it in course of writing my own prose. They imported the classic version of the lunatic asylum to sort of move the plot along. But actually, the lunatic asylum in British context wouldn't have existed. The regime was too harsh. There was no. Britain had a sort of moral therapy regime in many mental health institutions, even in the Victorian period, where the Americans concentrated more on restraining the patient. That was to me that was a very striking example of artistic license, because the story wouldn't have worked without a real, lunatic asylum from hell. But in the context of the historical context, you just wouldn't have had those kind of institutions not in the British context, maybe in an American context certainly, but not in the British context. So that's the sort of definition of artistic license.
Art plays a part in a lot of things where you need that slight exaggeration of different concepts.
Art is really, it's just lying.
With style.
We're not artists, we're just very stylish liars.
So fantasy seems to be generally the theme we're going with here.
Yeah.
When you're creating a fantasy image from that, is it coming straight out of your head onto the paper, or are you using reference sort of images and stuff?
I think sometimes if you're, say what piece you're, for example, say you go back to the Barbarian Girls where you said earlier on about that thing, normally I would quick look online and have a look to see what's going on there and stuff like that, and then, because I think sometimes people do tend to like, oh, I like that, and I'll use that, and you don't want to do that because you just use other people's stuff, you want to use your own style and your own thing. I would just look at a pose, I would use a pose sometimes, and you look at some, normally I would just go to like a site where just actually go just pose in different positions, action position, whatever like that. That would really be I would use, it's just that pose, and then just get the wheels going really, and you start sketching, and it'll just start coming to a thing that's what's going on. It just modes, and it starts to come out. And they say it depends really on what you start to give yourself a little storyline to your character. The character says like, why she got this sword, why is she wearing that? Do you need this one? And that gradually helps you to build up your actual look of your character. Is she wearing silver armor? Is it big? Is it small? Has it got spikes on it? All those things go in your head as you're drawing. And then then your character will evolve. It'll evolve. I think you just see the same.
Yeah, I'm very similar.
I
always work from the story, and I also do the stages, because I always find when I go back to a piece it looks completely different.
Yeah.
And I come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
I'm similar when it comes to the poses. I tend to take photos of myself.
Yeah.
For the poses.
You've all done that. I think open in front of the mirror with a rubber sword gun.
Hold up the phone.
Occasionally get an understanding friend to help you.
Yeah.
Well, it must have been. I always love the one you get the asked to mirror beside the. I need a person looking shot. What the shot look like? And you get someone and you think that looks like you've just had 14 bottles of beer and burped. Yeah. but I was leading slightly somewhere. I can always remember going to the studio of Roger de Garland, fancy artists, did a lot of tokening work, and I always do an awful lot of like sleeping dragons. We always thought that they look lifelike. So what are you basing them on? And it turned out it's their pet red setter. Flop that fantasy, they sketch the dog and then shave it and not real. Take the hair off, but then put the scale on and extend it and that. And so basically all their sleeping dragons were dogs.
I don't know if it's strictly artistic lights. I went round in Paris recently, just some amazing tapestry, 15th century tapestry. And one of the knights of Lebanon always took his dog into his campaign with him, so it's in the tapestry. So tapestry artists have never had to do a dog before. So this dog is actually, when you look at how the legs look, it's a small horse. It runs completely wrong for a dog.
Unless it's an Irish wolfhound, which you could describe as a small horse.
Yes, this is why it's so important to have reference materials whenever you do. My studio is just covered in bits of paper with all sorts of things. I've got books of animals and design sort of bits.
When you start looking at animals, do you look at the structure from the inside, as in the skeleton, then the muscle structures, or do you,
It would depend really on what the animal was doing. We have to look at the muscle groups and stuff. That if an animal's running, it's jumping. All the muscle groups are doing different things. You have to look at that, and you have to get the muscle groups right because it just doesn't work out. So you have to put, like, for example, if the tiger is walking down, let's say, onto a log, you have to make sure that you have to show the weight because the tiger's a big animal, and the muscle has to be really tensed up when it's leaning its weight on its arm. So those things all come into play. If it doesn't work, it won't. If you look at your eye, it just doesn't work. You can't look at not showing the weight properly, how it moves and stuff like that. And, I mean, that's when, like I say, the preference for books for muscle groups and anatomy come into so handy, really. I mean, so you tend to, and then you become a doctor, don't you? All the muscle groups, don't you? The abs and all the things, stuff like that, all of it.
Your works in
black and white, yeah.
And you work in sprays and colours.
Sprays, watercolours.
Do you find that you start with the sort of a structural diagram?
Yeah, you always do.
And then
I tend to start with a wireframe.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I can go straight into the pose, start doing muscle groups right off, but then, for example, say a piece that comes along where you need something that is a certain way, then you think to yourself, well, it has to look right, so you just go back and start referencing your muscle groups and everything, and see how it looks, and you'll start, like I said, with a wireframe, like a little stick man, really, a rough stick man, and then the stick man gradually fills out, it becomes more and more and more, and you gradually erase bits and move bits, and it'll just come apart, and you see it start to get right, and you think, that's perfect there, and then you start. Yeah. It's a system you work to. Most of the art books you pick up, they all start with that wireframe drawing because that's the basic way to start. Because if you just start, people start with the eyes first, and you think, well, if you're drawing a guy with the eyes first, you need to set out where everything sits to on the body first before you actually start putting those bits in. Those bits come in last, really. You need to get that actual structure ready to start before you start adding on the muscle, the hair, whatever needs to be done after that.
So proportions first.
Yeah, proportions. Yeah, because you can draw an arm too long and then. They'll just go there with a razor, just take it all off for 5 minutes.
Otherwise, you end up with like arms and things coming
off
the side of the page.
Whenever I'm doing a portrait, I always tend to start with the eyes. I always work my way out in a counterclockwise motion.
Yeah, everyone's got their own way of doing it. I tend to like, for a portrait, if you do anything from shoulders up, sort of thing like this, I would work like I would put the shoulders in really roughly, start going the lines in, and then just gradually where I'm just going to sit to. Then it depends if he's looking to the side, looking to the left, looking down. Depends on how you're going to structure it really. Yeah.
So I tend to work from a central line then. The face.
I do as well. It depends on if someone's looking to the left, looking to the right, or just smiling versus angry, whatever. It depends what sort of portrait you're doing.
That's it. Yeah. Exactly.
Horror stories of a piece of work you sort of work, step
we've all got those.
I've still got one. It's stashed in the corner. It's taken me just over 2 years and I haven't finished it yet. Because every time I go to it, something goes wrong.
I've worked on one for like a couple of weeks. I sat there and I got really frustrated and I ripped it in half. I'll start it again and then it's come out brilliant after that, I think, because there was just something not right about it, and and back in your mind you're saying this is not right, and you keep working on it, then you overwork it, and then it just doesn't look right again, and you think, so that's it, I'm just getting rid of it, and you start fresh, take a while away from it, an hour away from it, a cup of coffee, whatever, and sit down again, and then go back at it again, and then you'll see yourself, you learn by your mistakes really, you'll go back into it again. Then it'll come out well, and sometimes, I think you force art sometimes, as an artist, sometimes you think, I've got to get this done. And you start forcing things, you start trying to see the end product, and you need to just gradually take it step by step, and it takes time, and some people don't realise it takes so long to do, when they see a piece of artwork and it's worth like, they want £1,000 for it, and people think, oh, that's a lot of money, but the hours and hours that's gone into doing that, and the detail that goes into it, and that's what they're paying for, really. They're paying for that.
Possibly leads us into what's the sort of average time for one of your pieces of work. If there is such a thing as an average time.
I would say if I wanted to do it properly, it would probably take me about 4 or 5 days, I would say. Depending on the scale of the art as well. I mean, if I was doing like an A3 size drawing of like a movie star or something like that, about 3 or 4 days.
I'm going to be inking a piece today, which I've penciled. It's completely penciled at the moment, and I'm hoping to try and get it 3/4 done today, because I work pretty fast. So I mean, an ink say A4 piece or A3 piece, I'm looking about 4 or 5 hours, something like that. So.
Has any of your artwork actually appeared on the big screen?
Not yet.
No, not yet. No, we're all fingers crossed for that one, I think, at the moment.
I've had a few exhibitions, but nothing major.
Do you find that when you're sketching and you've got a very fixed image in your mind's eye and you're trying to sketch what you see, or you play with it? I mean, that's it. When I did my art, I had an image and I drew it. If it worked, whoopee. If it didn't, that was the end of the story. I wouldn't go back. I just could not get it. It had to be what's in my mind's eye. I couldn't say after a sketch, that's what I'm looking for. It had to be, draw it, that's what I want. No, it's not real. I just could not see any other view of what I wanted to get.
I always tend to, when I do visualise drawing, I tend to manipulate it. It never turns out exactly as I saw it or represented it in my head. So I always tend to manipulate and change it quite dramatically when I put it onto paper. Yeah. So I've never got a fixed image. Never got a fixed image.
I'm the same. You do your own rendition of it, don't you? I think. Yeah. It never comes out. If you, for example, you draw that glass, you drew that glass, but you will draw like your own rendition. You add little bits to it. You know, sometimes. Yeah. A skull and stuff on something.
Yeah, or a tour.
Or a tour.
Because if you're just drawing something exactly as it is, just take a photograph and have done with it.
That's what I do now.
Quicker.
So obviously with sort of painting and any kind of art, part of it is about sort of, it's augmented reality. It's like something real or something you've imagined, but you get to expand on it, even just within the frame of the painting. It just you can add details, you can change things. You can make it.
Just put your own take on it. And every artist has got a completely different take on things.
Yeah, we all do the same room, do renditions and stuff, don't we? We've got our own style. Cool.
When your description of what you do gives me the idea that sometimes you're asked to do a piece of artwork that's not going to go on a flat surface.
No. Sometimes I sculpt three-dimensional objects as well.
So would you have a design, then put it into a computer program that would map it so it would come out with the correct, whatever the word is?
Most artists use a program called ZBrush, but I don't know how to use it, although I would like to. So I tend to do two-dimensional drawings. So on a piece of paper, and then I work from that.
And you can visualise it onto the object yourself?
I can, yeah, and it always ends up different. As soon as I start sculpting it, I might as well just chuck that bit of paper away, really, but I use that as a guide.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of things like curvature of the helmet, if it's a mountain bike helmet, or a petrol tank, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You might look good on, as I say, on paper. As soon as you put it on top of the helmet, see what it's going to look like.
That's
like,
it.
oh dear me.
That's it, yeah. It's I've got an example in my room over there of a Terminator I did. The angel skull has never been attempted on a crash helmet before. So I thought I'd chuck myself right in the deep end with that one. And it was quite difficult to try and make the angel skull fit on a rounded helmet. To try and make things that sunken in, like the sides where all his cogs and stuff like that are. Yeah, I don't think the client would have appreciated that.
Time for one more, maybe then? Any last?
When you're working on scale, first of all, do you find do you find you have a specific scale that you like to work on? And secondly, for the specifically the comic book artist, I work on A5 because I mostly have I'm publishing some of my own stuff in a sci-fi newsletter.
Yeah.
And so I work to an A5 scale because that's what is on the back of the page. But I've heard that most comic artists work to a larger scale so they can condense it down.
Yeah, mostly if I was working on a comic, I'll be working on A3.
Right.
A3 is the size of sort of A4 for me now. It's just too small for me now. I just can't work. And with my sketches, I would work on an A4 or even A5. A3 is sort of the main sort of size that we all work on. That sort of size. Some people go a bit bigger. It depends on who they are really. But yeah, if you look at the comic boards you can actually buy, are actually around that sort of size. Yeah, that sort of size. And then obviously when it shrinks down, your detail then will come into that. It's a lot better when it was smaller.
Right.
Yeah, so it gives you a bit of breathing space to do a big like splash page or whatever, you know, like that type of stuff. Really. But yeah, I mean that's the sort of like standard side I think that people work on at the moment.
I'm the same when it comes to portraits and that.
Yeah.
That's my standard size.
There was a time when I did work on A4 a lot, but now I'm just feel too restricted on A4. I need to go bigger. And I've gone bigger again. I've gone really big. I've gone like that expressive mode and got my brush out to them. Big things. You know.
You've got the Rolf Harris.
Yeah, Rolf Harris. Yeah.
I tend to do similar. I can sketch on A4, but then obviously when you go to a canvas, I tend to use the larger canvases, just because then the quality is always better on a larger canvas.
Gives you more freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I do cheat sometimes where I've got no HP at home, so I'll sketch out on an A4 size and then just blow it up onto the canvas and then just draw it right out again. But then obviously you lose detail as you do that, so you get to then have to play around again on the canvas. So it's a lot of freedom. Just generally larger. If you work larger, you get more detail out of it.
Okay, folks, I think time is running out for us. Thank you to our panel.